Dear students, welcome to my class on the third module of your paper, Transactions, Essential English Language Skills. Third module is Grammar. You take your textbook, Transactions, page number 51. So you can notice a quotation in the beginning of the page number 51. This quotation is from Larson Freeman, an American linguist. Grammar should never be taught as an end in itself, but always with a reference to meaning, social function, or discourse, or a combination of these factors. So Larson Freeman says grammar shouldn't be taught as an end in itself, but grammar should be taught with a reference to meaning, with a reference to social function, or with a reference to discourse. So discourse means communication, connected speech or writing or communication. So as you all know, grammar means the rules which structure our language. It describes how a language works. Grammar is the central part of a language, the mechanism behind it. Without these rules, we cannot form a sentence of clear and explicit meaning. So in order to form a sentence of clear and explicit meaning, for example, I play football. So I have to follow certain order. I plays football is incorrect. Play I football also is incorrect. So in order to form a sentence, I have to follow certain rules. Then only I can communicate the meaning clearly and explicitly. Learning grammar will help the students to understand important language concepts, which help them to use language effectively. But at the same time, as Larson Freeman says, learning grammar is not just remembering relevant rules or reciting old rules of grammar. That is not learning grammar. It is also, learning grammar is also developing the ability to successfully use them in different contexts. One should learn to apply them for proper communication. That is more important. We should learn the rules of grammar in order to apply them for proper communication. And that is why Larson Freeman says grammar should be taught with a reference to meaning, social function, or communication. So a learner, as Larson Freeman says, learners should develop the skill to identify the form, the meaning, and appropriate context of the use of grammatical structures. So in your textbook, page number 51, I'm going to read the introduction. There are two important reasons why grammar needs to be taught. So why grammar needs to be taught? The reason is comprehensibility and acceptability. Comprehensibility and acceptability are the important reasons why grammar needs to be taught. What is comprehensibility? The extent to which a listener understands the utterance. So we should be able to communicate clearly and explicitly so that the listener can understand. Comprehensibility is the extent to which a listener understands utterances produced by a speaker in a communication context and measures how easily the listener arrives at the speaker's intended meaning. So here there are 2 points. A listener should understand the utterances produced by a speaker in a communication, and the listener should arrive at the speaker's intended message, and that is known as comprehensibility. Comprehensibility means capable of understanding the meaning, understandable. Our utterances should be comprehensible. The listener or reader could clearly understand our intended meaning, and that is known as comprehensibility. Clarity, and that is the clarity and avoidance of ambiguity. So suppose our utterance is ambiguous and not clear, the listener or reader cannot understand anything. Suppose in a newspaper, the media, they are using a language which is not clear and full of ambiguity. The readers will get irritated, or those who are watching the news channel in TV will get irritated. So clarity and avoidance of ambiguity is essential. Ambiguity means a word or expression having two or more meaning, uncertainty. So the ambiguous statement may be acceptable in fiction or in poetic language. The ambiguity of the poem allows several interpretations. So a poem having different layers of meaning because of the ambiguity of the poetic language used by the poet, that may be allowed in that context. But in ordinary speech or in media, the language used in media or in ordinary conversation or in scientific text, or while dealing with other subject matters, our language will be clear and there shouldn't be ambiguity. There shouldn't be ambiguous. And that is essential for proper communication. So grammar needs to be taught in order to develop comprehensibility and acceptability. Accuracy, that is attention to form, is essential for developing comprehensibility. In order to form accurate sentences, a listener or reader understands the utterances clearly and precisely because of grammar. Grammar is the study of the way we bring words together in order to make sense. So isolated words do not usually make sense. So suppose I make some isolated sentences like frost, cherries, recent, damaged. That may not make any sense. But suppose I say a sentence, the recent frosts have damaged the cherries. It conveys some meaning that is clear, and the listener or reader can comprehend it. The sentence has a certain accuracy and clarity and comprehensibility. So isolated words do not usually make sense. So grammar is the study of the way we bring words together in order to make sense. So we can communicate each other properly by putting words into sentences. The combination of words make up larger constructions like phrases, clauses, sentences. So words, we put words together and form phrases, then clauses or sentences. In English, word order is important to produce meaningful sentences. For example, a sentence, throw some hay to the cow. Instead of that sentence, suppose I say, throw some cow to the hay, and expect my listeners to understand what I say. That is foolishness. Throw some cow to the hay. So the word order is very much essential. Following certain word order is very much essential as far as English is concerned. So the sentences are said to be grammatically complete. A very large tree, that is only a phrase, not a sentence. Walking down that road, that also is not a sentence, only a phrase. I saw a car, and that is only a clause, part of a compound sentence. I saw a car. So see the way these phrases are developed into a sentence, into sentences. A very large tree was blocking the road. Then it is a sentence. Walking down the road, we sang songs. That also is another sentence. I saw a car and a bus. Then it's something complete. So these are sentences are grammatically complete. And also, as I told you, in English, the word order is very essential. If we change the word order, the sentences may become ungrammatical. The dog is chasing the cat. That is grammatical. The dog is the cat chasing. That is meaningless, ungrammatical. So word order is very much important as far as English is concerned. The changing word order can also alter the meaning of sentences. So a changing word order may leave a sentence ungrammatical or meaningless, and also it may alter the meaning of a sentence. For example, the dog is chasing the cat. The cat is chasing the dog. This is a grammatical sentence, but it has different meaning. The taxi is here. Is the taxi here? That's a question. And first, the taxi is here is a statement. I had my hair washed. I had washed my hair. So these two sentences have different meaning. Though same words are used. I had my hair washed means I approached somebody else to wash my hair. I sought the service of somebody else to wash my hair. I had washed my hair means I myself had washed my hair. So your textbook, page number 51, second paragraph. Comprehensibility. So in order to make a sentence comprehensible, we have to follow certain law of grammar, rules of grammar, where we have to follow certain word order. Comprehensibility is the extent to which a listener understands utterances produced by a speaker in a communication. Communication context and measures how easily the listener arrives at the speaker's intended meaning, intended message. So speaker should the listener should arrive at the intended message of the speaker. So the speaker has certain message in his conversation. So suppose the listener arrives at that message, can understand, grasp that message, we can say that his utterance was comprehensible. In order to help students make comprehensible sentences and communicate common types of meanings successfully, we focus on certain high-frequency structures such as basic verb forms, interrogative, negative structures, the use of main tenses, and the grammar of the modal auxiliaries. So these grammatical structures will be taught in the following pages of this module. Following part of this module, these grammatical structures will be taught, and this is a knowledge of an awareness of these grammatical structures is essential for creating comprehensible and acceptable sentences. Comprehensible and acceptable sentences. Creating comprehensible and acceptable sentences, how to form, how to create such sentences. A second language learner, a foreign language learner should learn how to create comprehensible and acceptable sentences. As far as our mother tongue is concerned, we internalize this during the process of language acquisition that took place during the early period of our life. To a great extent, we learn it, we grasp our mother tongue. But while learning a foreign language, we have to learn how to create comprehensible and acceptable statements. Then what is acceptability? Comprehensibility and acceptability are the two terms we are discussing now. So we have learned what is comprehensible. Comprehensibility means the extent to which a listener understands the utterance clearly produced by a speaker in a communication. So that is comprehensible. His words were comprehensible. I can understand his what he has written or what she has written or what she has said. That is comprehensible. Suppose I have the ability to use the language effectively, my utterances will become comprehensible for the listeners. Then what is acceptability? Grammaticality and acceptability are two distinct but related notions. They are related notions, different notions but related. Chess are they playing of games. So this sentence is unacceptable, ungrammatical. As you all know, chess are they playing of games. She works hard is grammatical. Her works hard works her are not grammatical. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. This sentence is grammatical. Colorless green ideas subject. Sleep verb. Furiously. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. That is grammatical sentence. But that is unacceptable in ordinary context. Maybe the sentence may be used in a figurative sense or in poetic sense maybe, but in ordinary context, this conveys uh, uh, no sense. This sentence does not convey any sense in ordinary context. So this sentence is unacceptable in ordinary context. Hurry up, chaps, to the hall. Would you please go to the hall? Both sentences are grammatical. But the first sentence, hurry up, chaps, to the hall. You know, this sentence is not acceptable in a formal context. In a formal context, why we are engaged in a formal conversation, in official communication. In formal context, we often follow established customs and rules of language. Formal context. You have heard of formal language, formal letter, informal letter. The letter we write to our friends or family members. That is something informal. Then formal letter uh, and informal letter, formal context and informal context. Official communication in which we follow established customs or rules of language is known as a formal context. So usually we don't use hurry up chaps to the hall, such a expression in formal context. So in formal context, people will say, would you please go to the hall? Both sentences are grammatical, but the first sentence is acceptable only in informal gathering. In a formal gathering, the second sentence is more acceptable. Traditional grammarians consider the sentences like who did you speak to? A sentence ends with a preposition is unacceptable according to traditional grammar. He is taller than me. That also is unacceptable, incorrect and unacceptable. To whom did you speak? He's taller than I are correct. To whom did you speak is correct. Who did you speak to is unacceptable. But modern grammarians consider these sentences, both sentences, are acceptable as correct. Both sentences as correct and more commonly used in informal context. This is who did you Who did you speak to? He is taller than me. These sentences are used in informal context. Who did you speak to? He is taller than me are correct and acceptable in informal context. And to whom did you speak? He is taller than I are acceptable in formal context. And modern grammarians considers both sentences are acceptable and correct in different contexts. So grammatical rules are not the pronouncement of teachers, editors and other authorities. They are simply the way people speak and write. And if people begin to speak and write differently, the rule changes. So these grammar rules are not strict and fast rules that during the course of time we can notice that language changes slightly. In this, accordingly, grammar also, rules of grammar also changed. Utterances systematically used by a set of native speakers are grammatical. So we have to accept that. So these traditional grammarians may be may be reluctant to admit this. Traditional grammarians strictly follow certain rules, but in modern days, the viewpoint is changing. Grammatical system of one's mother tongue is automatically internalized to a great extent during the process of language acquisition, as we already discussed. So, as the language changes, the rules of grammar are subject to change. So, grammar is not a static. Static means fixed system of arbitrary rules. It should be seen as a dynamic rational system. Grammar is a dynamic rational system. So, a living language always change. The language reflects new social situation, inventions, fashion, etc. So what is a living language? A language currently in use is a living language. English is a living language. Malayalam is a living language. Hindi, Arabic, all are living languages. And dead language is language that no more in use. A living language always change. A living language always changes. The changes reflect new social situations, inventions, fashions, etc. The only language that doesn't change is a dead language. English is known as a global language. English is now the language of internet. So it often undergoes much changes. So here in your text it is written that acceptability is equally crucial. In India, where English is perceived as a highly powerful in domains as diverse as education, administration, business, media, and research, poor English is not only an obstacle to communication. So, poor English is always an obstacle for communication, but and also it is unacceptable. In some contexts, a person who speaks unacceptably may not be taken seriously or may be considered uneducated. So, we should learn how to use language effectively. Students need to develop fluency, that is, the ability to process different grammatical forms more rapidly and accurately than is required for mere comprehensibility. Our language should be comprehensible, but at the same time, we should develop fluency, and then only it will become acceptable in certain context. Potential employers and especially during the time of interview or job interviews, etc. Potential employers and examiners may also require of students high level of grammatical correctness. So during the time of a job interview, grammatical correctness uh, also will be examined. The employers job during the time of job interview, employers will examine the grammatical correctness of your utterance. If our students English needs to be acceptable to these authorities, their prejudices must be taken into account. They may have certain prejudice about regarding standard English, and students have to develop their fluency accordingly. Now you take page number 53. Here grammar in use and grammar in usage. So what is usage? Usage denotes how we should use language in certain situations. We have already discussed formal situation and informal situations, how we use language differently. The following sentences violate formal usage. She dresses beautiful. He ain't got no book. But often such expressions may be found in colloquial usage. She dresses beautifully. He hasn't got any book. These are acceptable in formal usage. Formal usage does not allow grammatically incomplete sentences or fragments. Fragments means yes, true. These are fragments. Talk in fragments. Often we use fragments in colloquial or informal gathering. Grammatically incomplete sentences or fragments are permissible in informal in composition. They are permissible in informal conversation. So here the two columns are given. Grammar in use, grammar in usage. Grammar in use is an informal gathering, the conversation between two friends, friendly talk between two friends or family members. Uh, Look at how grammar works in the following conversations. Two conversations are given between two people having breakfast together. In pairs, groups discuss the differences between use and usage. Coffee? Would you like some of this coffee? So, coffee? You want coffee? So, this is an informal gathering. Coffee? Please. Yes. Yes, I would like some of that coffee, please. Milk, sugar? Do you take milk? Do you take sugar? Do you want milk? No milk. One sugar, thanks. I don't take milk, but I will take one sugar, thanks. So what is one sugar? Sugar is often used as an uncountable and we use some sugar. So one sugar means countable, means one small spoon of sugar or one sugar lump. So how many sugars do you take? A mug of tea with two sugars. So sugar. Uh, Milk, sugar? Do you take milk? Do you take sugar? No milk, one sugar, thanks. I don't take milk, but I will take one sugar, thanks. Toast? Would you like some of this toast? No, thanks. I would prefer not to have any of that toast, thanks. So, toast means sliced bread, made warm and crisp. Juice? Can I offer you some of this juice? Yes, I would like some of that juice. So the first column, a informal gathering. Two friends or two family members are talking like this. Coffee, please. Milk, sugar? No milk. One sugar, thanks. Toast? No thanks. Juice? Second column, we can see a formal gathering. They are using formal English. Would you like some of this coffee? Yes, I would like some of that coffee, please. Do you take milk? Do you take sugar? I don't take milk, but I will take one sugar, thanks. Would you like some of this toast? I would prefer not to have any of the toast, thanks. Can I offer you some of this juice? Yes, I would like some of that juice. So you read this conversation, and here I am going to wind up this class. Thank you.